Alrighty then. So we are here with Black Pyramid. I am Jacarri Kelley. I don't even know my role. This week has been kind of crazy. And then I'm going to let Al introduce himself and what this is. Go ahead, Al.
Okay. My name is Al Kalishnikov. I go by Khalife. That's the Muslim name. Um, I am the digital content digital manager for the pyramid, the Black Pyramid, which is under the umbrella of the Pyramid Company Media of Utah. We are a regional and national based platform for networking the Black experience. And Jacarri has come aboard to be our podcast interviewer. She's going to be wearing a lot of hats for us. So thank you very much for joining us, Jacarri Kelley. We recently lost someone who was a founder, one of our founding fathers, who we lost to COVID. And so we dedicate this podcast to his memory. So with that being said, I'll leave this in the hands of you, Jacarri.
All right, so we are going to start the interview off with a poet that I've heard and seen and listened to over the past 2 years. She goes by the name of Michaelle, and I'm going to let her pronounce her name correctly for you. So go ahead, Queen.
Oh, that's all right, actually. It's Michael. You said it just fine. And my stage name is Caribbean Nightingale.
All right, Caribbean Nightingale. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and life experience?
Uh, I also wanted to, before I move any further, I wanted to thank you and Al for taking the time to interview me today. Uh, and to answer your question, I am originally from Haiti, came out here for college, well, a lot of years ago. and and the rest is history. But no, I always had a love of poetry, the word, different art forms. Growing up, I I danced, I sang, and I would I would perform some fables that we had, French fables that we had to memorize at my school, and it was a lot of fun to me. That's when I could forget who I was for a second and just delve into the words and just feel every word, every concept that was being told, and just convey the message of the writer um, to the audience and sometimes my classroom. It was a fun part, actually. I know that might make me a nerd, but I thought it was a lot of fun. And let's see. So I started writing my own poetry after being introduced to French and Haitian literature. I started to write my own poetry around the age of 14, I would say. And and then, but it was one of those things that you don't say that's what you're gonna do when you grow up. You know, artists or writers in Haiti, you're doomed to a life of poverty and misery. And if you dare to speak up your mind, then end up um, you can end up killed. I mean, literally, you lose your life. I've seen that happen if your views were not aligned with the politicians at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very opinionated person, so I was afraid for that part too. Um, and but anyway, I also always wanted to do something with women in my community. There were some things growing up, and I would hear in the news, international news, about the treatment of women. And even as a young age, like 12, 13, I was like, heck no, that is not right. You know, you can't blame a woman who was raped or assaulted, just telling them, oh, it's your fault, or you shouldn't be wearing this dress or
Right.
this skirt, and even in religious settings, growing up, they would say, oh, don't wear pants because, that you might tempt, temptation for other
Right.
boys. And so poetry was a way for me to just express a lot of my frustrations, some heavy feelings. It was always a way to um, connect with myself, connect
Hmm.
with others, to write down what I would notice in my environment, and so I started writing again in 2012, I would say, and this time in English. I did actually, when I was in my first, second year of college here in the States, I did take some creative writing classes, and we did publish as a class. We did a little publishing thing for our class, our poetry class, and I had a couple of poems in there, um, and I loved it. I just loved it, and I had the English tutor who helped me during my freshman and sophomore year, um, and junior year, and that helped me pronounce words, English words, the accents. Accents are different. I would say accent, or one time I was like, oh, I love bitches, and I meant beaches. So I had a heavy
Oh
Haitian
yeah.
accent. Some sounds we don't have, like
Hmm.
the sound, we don't have it in Creole or in French. So it was really hard to adapt certain things. Um,
Yeah, my
but
son has that same
mhm,
type of issue where when he talks, because I'm from Utah, he kind of was
mhm.
raised partly in the South, so they think he's cussing and he's really
Ah,
not, like, because it's different twangs. So there's not a
uh-huh,
day that
uh-huh.
goes by where I get a parent that's like, your son was cussing. I'm like, no, that's just how he
Oh,
talks. Yeah, so
they're
I
looking for a
totally
way to put
understand.
him in the what pipe prisoner pipeline in
Yeah,
the way that
Oh no.
marginalized him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, with your experience growing up in Haiti and then coming to the United States, how often do you get to go back to Haiti?
Oh my goodness, that's a sore topic for me.
I
I
bet.
don't.
I'm sorry.
I've only been back once. Uh, Not for lack of wanting to. You know. Uh,
Hmm.
I've only been back once. That was back in 2012, I want to say. And But I try to stay connected with my community because I mean that's a big part of who I am. Um,
Right, right.
One might argue that's the biggest part of who I am, and I have not been able to go back just because of political issues here and there. And then after the earthquake, my parents moved. My parents moved up here. It became too much,
Hmm.
uh, and we. I mean, I've been wanting to go. There's a matter of finding the funds to go, and
It's pretty
safety
expensive.
is a big issue when you go home. You
Hmm.
know, and expensive. It's because people can spend in U.S. dollars over there, and it's a shame. It doesn't reflect the economy because most of the country is really struggling financially, very poor, and then you get those ONGs,
Hmm.
wait, NGOs, sorry, NGOs that the nonprofits that are working there, and they get contracts there, so they get paid in US dollars, right? And then they
Hmm.
go spend in those resorts, and so a lot of people in the city, especially, they they end up paying, and it's overpopulated. So they end up paying a lot of money for different things. Things now that whenever I hear the news or I talk to somebody from back home, things I used to buy, let's say $1 going up, just 50, $60, So
Wow,
it's really
inflation.
horrible. Yeah, the inflation
Hmm.
is I mean, it always gets me sad to hear news from home, but I do intend to go visit from time to time in the future, the next few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what brought you to Utah? From Haiti to Utah. How did you get here?
Uh, yeah, I get that question a lot. Why Utah?
I
So
think that's the number
my
one question Black people get in the state of Utah is how did you
yes,
get here?
I even ask Black or immigrant folks. So I mean, why Utah? So,
Right,
but
right.
so I ended up in Utah. I started my uh school journey in Idaho. It was called Rick's College. Now it's called BYU Idaho, just because I was along the way. My parents became members of the LDS Church in
Hmm.
Haiti, so they consider them some sort of pioneers. And then we heard about Rick's College and my oldest brother who went there, and then yeah, the good experience. So I ended up there, and I think one of my other two siblings ended up there too later on. But so I transferred to Utah, um, to BYU,
Okay.
to finish my bachelor's. So I did
Hmm.
2 years there. And, um, so yeah, so pretty much I ended up here because of my education and my affiliation at the time to the predominant church in Utah.
Okay. That makes sense. That's how a lot of people get to the state of Utah. I'm not
Hmm.
either it's like through the LDS church, it's through the military or college. All three. Um s-
Or I've seen a growing population of tech people because we have so many tech businesses that migrate
or a
from
job.
California to Utah.
Especially
Yeah,
down there
so
in the Provo Lehigh area, that's very tech savvy areas.
hmm
And there's a lot of, I was surprised there's a lot of cannabis businesses down there too. We'll have to
really,
talk about that
I'm
later.
okay. Yeah, because I'm down in Utah County.
Yes, yes.
What my daughter was reminding me earlier today that it was the black population, including black students on BYU and UVU campuses. It was 0.8%. So we're not even 1%. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
you start seeing us on TV, and we're not gonna talk about that. So
Right.
my next question for you would be, so the biggest question, how did you harness your gift of the spoken word? Because it's like you perfected your craft growing up writing and, educating yourself and believing in women's rights and women's liberation, especially coming from
Hmm.
a country like Haiti. So we
Hmm.
definitely see your path. So what made you harness and polish that off? Because when I've seen you performing, you're definitely a diamond.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Very.
That means a lot to me.
That's true.
Uh,
I agree.
the thank you, Al. So, uh, I like to say that when you have a gift, you know, at one point or another, it'll come up. Like it will show up. It'll come out of you. You can try to beat it out of yourself, but it'll show up. You know. So so I've come full circle. I've come to terms with what my talent is. Um, Back, uh, I want to say about um, is that 10 years? No, that's less than 10 years ago. 9 years ago, when I started writing again, um, it was just because that's what my brain gravitated back towards to find some sort of healing.
Mm,
when therapy and other resources weren't enough. My
right.
brain gravitated towards the words when I was dealing with um, divorce from an abusive relationship,
Mm,
when I was dealing with leaving, finding my daughter, my daughter's body. She was a couple months old. And then around the same time, finding out that my mom had early onset Alzheimer's, and so that hit me pretty hard. That knocked me out.
that's straight trauma.
And I was, yeah, and I was trying to make sense out of things, taking things one step at a time in my mind, and because the thing with trauma, it's like trauma, like you said, your brain wants to protect you. So sometimes it just shuts down for a minute, and it goes and addresses it little by little. And if you read my first book, you will see that evolution,
Hmm.
where I in the first section of the book, The Nightingale's New Song, a Black Woman's Poetic Notes. Um, so the first part is called the Still Notes, right? And it just the poems at the time that I was writing, kind of like, okay, am I gonna address this yet or not? Just going
Hmm.
back and forth, addressing the trauma a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And then the second part is like, okay, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do next? Then my brain starts. It was called the Black Woman's Angered Lyrics. So once you woke, you cannot be unwoke. That's what I like to tell my kids.
Facts. That's what I
Um,
say.
and so I became woke to some of the things I went through. I'm like, shoot, I'm angry. And as women, we're just told you can't be angry about this. You have to be this proper lady. Okay, I grew up.
Especially black women, especially
Mm-hmm,
black women.
mm-hmm. And I also attribute that to my upbringing in religion. And I grew up a Mormon, but I also went to a Catholic school, right?
Mm.
And there's a certain way to act and do this and say that. And so at this point I was like, hell no, I am angry, and I will say it, I will write it, I will shout it off at the top of my lungs,
Mm.
All right.
whether you like it or not. So the
Mhm.
second part of that book will reflect that. And then the third part, the last part, just hold on, it was called um sorry about that. The Nightingale Finds Her Voice,
Hmm.
which is coming to terms with all the trauma, and also coming to terms with the fact that I am a writer,
Mm.
I am a poet,
Yes.
and I will own it. For the first time, I owned it, and it brings me peace, but it also brings me power. It empowers me, and I try to convey that message and empower other women or anybody in similar situations. Hey, you can do this. You can move forward and be happy. The thing I want to point out again with uh, some religion in general or some concept mindsets, it's like you have to be miserable, to be doing something right in your life. And it is not true. You have to be
Right.
able to be happy. Life is not meant for you to be um uh I don't know, just unfulfilled, just unhappy all the time
We
and
were not put
struggling all
on
the
this
time. That is
right.
not, no, 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 no. It is no. So and so that's why I came to terms with, and that's when I said, okay, uh, I will do some more research for my writing, for learning poetry in the English language, and also bring my own background into my writing, because nobody, American, white American, European American, or European, period.
Right.
And tell me this is a certain way you have to write every single time.
Yeah.
And because as I was like, I think sometimes people don't realize that some art form that came about is because somebody was experimenting, and then all of a sudden, later on, they named that thing. They
Right.
named some poetry sonnets and villanelle and different things.
Hmm.
And I remember listening to a poem from Maya Angelou one time, and that was another time when I realized, hey, I have a gift,
Hmm.
because I used to go to libraries some summers with the kids as a single mom. And one time I checked out an audiobook from her, and I was listening to the CD in the car. I was like, what? That poem was called Poor Girl. I will never
Yes.
forget. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh my. So you can do this, you can do that, because that's what I want to do. But I didn't feel like it was the proper way to present, deliver my message. And then I also decided, hey, I'm going to incorporate part of my language in
Hmm.
my poems, because I don't always think in English. Obviously I spent almost 20 years thinking in Haitian Creole and sometimes French. So no, I'm going
Right.
to put some of my words there. And the thing about speaking different languages, which I encourage anybody to do, it's never a waste of time. It helps you think differently as well.
Right. And then when you start talking to people and you say your poetry, you kind of get what the words mean, because you're able
Yeah,
to
yeah.
feel what the artist is saying, and you're able to
Mm-hmm,
see their expression, so then you can kind of speak that language. Like, that's the
mm-hmm,
words you say in a different language or something that's going to go off in someone's mind all the time. So
mm-hmm.
I have a
Right.
lot of Spanish friends and they speak Spanglish sometimes, so I love just seeing different type of languages put in people's art and poetry, because it helps educate people at the same time.
Right, right.
Yes,
Thank you.
and I definitely see that passion in your art. So with you being as good as you are, what are some upcoming projects you have? I know summer's about to pop off and everybody's getting their COVID shot. So I'm not gonna name no names, but do you have any projects coming up?
um, yes, yes, I got my shots, but I have one event coming possibly in June, and that would be to celebrate celebrate Pride Month, the LGBT community. I do have one child who's from the LGBT community, and I realized that in Utah, well, I found out some alarming statistics. 50% of suicides, it's among the youth, and a big majority of that is LGBT youth, and
Correct,
I can see
correct.
why. I can see
Yes.
why, and I've had, I mean, my children being Black and one being LGBT, they've had their share of challenges here. So I kind of wanted to highlight that month in some way, in a small way, the way I want to do. I
You,
mean, the way I
whatever you
can.
do is never small, especially when you learn how to be an ally for somebody you birthed out of your body. That's like a huge gift you can give to not just your own child, but to other parents that accept your child no matter what. You got to learn, you got to break that cycle of judgment and oppression, because that's ingrained in our society, right? So
Mhm,
we as parents, like, no matter what, I know my son is heterosexual, but he has
mhm,
friends that are not, because they make it
mhm,
normal, because it is normal. Like,
mhm.
you're a human
Right.
being no matter what, and what your sexual orientation is not it's a
Mhm.
non-factor in life if you really love somebody.
Right.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I definitely commend you for wanting to do something, because that's how everything starts. is an idea and wanting to do something. So yes, let us know when that
So
is, and we'll definitely support you. You can give us more details about it too.
yeah, so the date we have projected right now is June 12th. And I just wanna add that not just because I have my child who's LGBT, but it's also because I'm a minority and I have a lot of friends, close friends. Some of my closest friends are from the LGBT community, and they are fabulous people. Just wonderful and warm uh, people, and I know what it's like to be looked at like you were some sort of wild animal at the zoo. That
Right.
was always my feeling when I came to college. I'm like, shoot, I feel like some sort of uh lion or lioness, like they want to come look at you from behind the cage, but they don't want to get too close,
And
just
some of
that
them think it's
exotic
a
thing.
petting zoo. Like some of them
Hmm.
really, when it comes
Like
down
touching
to
your
it,
hair,
right.
and all that. I was
That's what
like,
I
no.
said. You're religious.
So,
Just because you're religious doesn't mean you can't be racist, because we know it's all
mm,
possible.
yes, yes. So I constantly have to check myself and educate myself in different minority groups, and LGBT group is one of them. And like you said, we need to normalize that because I remember realizing who would want to go through all that crap, through all that turmoil, um, uh, if they didn't have something in them trying to be authentic to themselves, right?
Right.
And I've been on the other end of the spectrum where I've been in a relationship with somebody who would not come out, and it's affected me in so many ways, like
Hmm.
traumatic ways, that I still deal with. So I don't want to do that to my own children and to the community that they will go and affect later on.
Right. Like you said, the suicide rates are so high just
Hmm.
in America right now, period, because of everything, that you
Hmm.
really do have to, you got to be thankful for the people you do have in your life and embrace them any way you can in any gift they have. Me
Absolutely.
being an activist, it took my mom a long time to be like, because my mom goes from 0 to 100, so there's no step for her. So like she couldn't be an
Oh my goodness,
activist,
that's a Haitian. That's in Haiti.
you
There's no
know.
process. Yeah, I
We're
see what you mean.
My
Mhm.
family's very southern, and my grandma's Creole
Mm,
also. So our
okay.
yeah, she's from Louisiana, so we understand that whole dynamic down there, because my grandma was, she's French Creole, but not by choice. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because my grandma was very
mhm.
dark skinned woman, and then my grandma came out very light skinned with hazel eyes.
Wow.
So yeah, her
Okay.
father was her father was French Creole, um, from the France side. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
we do
many
deal with
things
that
wrong
dynamic,
happened around that time too. So we
and
won't
we've
even get into that.
right, and we have a duty to ourselves to be authentic to us, and to let
Hmm.
other people be authentic around themselves.
Hmm.
So I think the
I agree.
more, especially in the Black community, the more events that we go to, the more networking we can do, the more empathy and
Hmm.
understanding there is on both sides, because you never know what can happen to you and your lineage, because your child might not
Exactly.
be gay, but your child's
Hmm.
child could be, or you know
Hmm.
what I mean? You never know. So,
Absolutely.
don't let your sin go into somebody else's lifetime. That's how I say it.
Thank
Right.
you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Mhm.
So
So
we
the other big event I have, well, it's not an event I'm putting together, but it's a woke market or women of color market that I'm going to
Oh, the
table, where I'm going to
WOC.
table. Yeah. Hmm.
I've seen that a couple
By
times around here.
Strength and Shade, SIS. So they're putting together that open market or pop-up market
Hmm.
um, in South Jordan on the 7th of May. And I will have
Okay.
some of my merch there, books, possibly some of
Oh,
the other artists' merch from Relaxation Through Verse. And so I invite everybody to come. I'm working on getting like packaging it for Mother's Day. Also, because I I I feel good about doing something that could help me release some heavy emotion, and maybe other women who's had their mom pass on. On
Yes.
Mother's Days, stateside that can be hard. So I thought, maybe I can do something like that, and some other women, like imagining some gifts that my mom would like,
Mhm.
and then putting it in there for other women who want to honor their mothers.
That's dope. That's good. Cause my
Mhm.
mom still like it was my granny. So like I know how I feel about my granny. My mom lost my granny like 5 years ago, and we're still like shook, like to our core.
Good.
So I feel like if
I
I
bet.
could buy my mom a gift like that, where it comes from the
Mhm.
heart, because your words come from the heart, that's
Mhm.
definitely a gem.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate that.
like it. So
Yeah.
that's
So
on the
that's
7th of May.
yeah. So that's a week from today.
Okay.
So next Friday.
That's in
So I
South Jordan
encourage everybody
Park,
to.
or where in South Jordan is that? Do you know?
I think it's called Frome Center. Let me see how it's spelled.
I
You're
Frome.
can
gonna put that on your in your
Phone
website, right?
Center. Okay. Yeah, I will be adding that on my website and social media
Okay.
Yes, that's the
this
next
weekend.
question. Al, do you want to go into that next question?
You go for it.
So where can we, as people that don't have the same gift, or people that do have the same gift as you, where can they find your information?
So I like to say the first place to start will be my website, because they'll get all the information they'll need, where they can get books, products, and my services. So the website is www.caribbean, and it's one R, two B's, Caribbean hyphen Nightingale, like the bird, .com. Caribbean hyphen Nightingale.com. Caribbean dash Nightingale.com.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so they can learn about my bio, about other artists' bio from relaxation to verse. Let's see, they can actually get, now we have some, in our poetry cafe, we have some, um, a couple of albums. One of them is from the event we did for the celebration of women. So
Hmm.
Women's Month back last month in March. So you can get the audio album, and it's name your own price. So it starts at $9.99 per album, but it's name your own price after that. So to give people options, if they feel like this is worth more, go for it. We won't say no, just to encourage artists, because because I make it a point to have each artist be compensated for their time and energy, and that's because that's what my mentor taught me. That's what he did. Ben KB, he was a pillar in the arts in the Salt Lake City community. Al, you remember Ben,
Oh yeah, Ben.
right? Yeah, Ben is
Yes,
the first person
absolutely.
who introduced me to you.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
he would have some small change for all of us artists. He never
Mhm.
said anything. I didn't know that was happening. I just wanted to share my art. But then uh, at some point, in the community, we have to realize we need each other. You need the artist, and the artist needs you. So as artists, we get inspired by you,
Hmm.
and you get inspired by us. And uh, I'm at a point in my life where I would like to do more of my art. That's why I registered the business. I like to devote a lot more time to that than working for Uncle Sam. You know,
Oh
but
yes,
it's
yes,
just
of
it's been
course.
a slow process in Utah. I've met some great, wonderful people, but it's still a slow process, for startup businesses. So, um, any support would be appreciated.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Me coming from fundraisers and stuff, like people were like, oh, how much is this? I'll be like, it's $2. Okay, thanks. Here's $20. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's definitely a good way because people want to not feel like they're just giving you money. They want to feel like
Mm-hmm,
they're supporting you and, getting something in return by just being able to hold your artwork. Because I
mm-hmm.
have Rose Concrete, which is also a spoken word management company.
Oh,
And
okay.
definitely, like, I have feature artists, and I'm like, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it together, and you're going to get the benefits I get, because I'm not
Mm-hmm,
here
mm-hmm.
to run nobody. I'm here to showcase your art because you inspire so many people with your words. So spoken word definitely is very close to my heart because I've always been the same way. Like, I didn't know how to put my thoughts down, and then one day somebody was like, just write it down, Jacarri. Like, just right. And I really
Mhm.
I didn't take that advice until I had to get my thyroid removed and I started getting brain fog. So I used to have to
Mm.
really literally write down everything so I would remember it, because I would
Oh my
forget
goodness.
and I would have to
Okay.
go back to it. So that's
Mm-hmm,
why spoken word's so important. And it's so important to the Black culture, the African culture, because we weren't
Yes.
allowed to write. We were only able to
mm-hmm.
story tell. So
Exactly. Right. Our overall history is good. And I think that's when it gets passed down to our genes, we're good storytellers. My grandma, she and my mom, they were some of the best um dramatic women and storytellers I ever met, you know.
Mhm.
And you get
yes.
sound effects, you listen to them, you get sound effects, you get the gesture, you get the description, I remember one time one of my aunts was describing somebody over the phone. I heard her say, "Oh yeah, it's that lady from the church with a big brown butt and then missing two teeth." I'm like, "Oh yeah," and the hand gesture.
Extra detail, right?
It
Exactly.
always has you like, oh yeah, I know that person.
Exactly, right?
And we're
So
not saying it to be shady, because the difference between
Right.
no,
Black people and everybody else is we like to tell the truth. Like, if I'm
thank
like,
you.
yeah, that one person with the limp, you know who I mean? They're like, oh yeah, I
Keep it
know that
Hmm.
100.
person. Yeah, but you just
Hmm.
got to keep it 100, because then you
Mhm.
don't remember your lie, but you always remember the truth.
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up around that, and you will see a lot of that in my writing too.
You
Just
are so,
descriptive and
I'm gonna have to send you a picture of my Aunt Peggy, because you and her look like twins. I'm like, I think we're
no way.
related. Yeah, you and my aunt look just like twins. Like, I'm not even joking.
I want to see that picture. I
Yes,
get that
yes.
sometimes. I'm like, okay, I guess I have a very popular face.
Probably when you come
Yeah.
out north to like the Ogden area, you probably get it a lot more, because that's where my family's from. But you really,
Mm.
I'll send it to you. She cute too.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Well,
I definitely need to
Michaelle,
meet her.
it's definitely been an honor to be able to interview you today. We will definitely post all of your social media pages, your website, your events, because people definitely need to hear you. And if I have any more events, I will make sure I reach out to you ahead of time. Because you said
Yeah,
you have 3 teenagers.
oh yes, yes. And they
Mm,
are
mm.
I'm pulling out my hair most of the time now. I don't know what I'm gonna do this summer. We'll see. COVID has been a whole long summer for them,
It's been a very long summer. You like, I'm ready to
and
not go back to work, but not go
yeah,
back to
and
I
school.
I
remember
work
the
from
vacation.
home, and I work
I
from
remember,
home, so
Mm.
yes.
I'll be taking a vacation soon. But if you don't mind, I do like to, at the end of my interviews, especially with you guys, I do like to read an excerpt of a poem or something,
Of course,
if that's
Queen,
all
you
right.
got the stage, honey. I will
Uh,
switch the view, so it's all on you.
all right. So this one is not too long. It's called My Name is Liberty. I am me. I am free. Like the ear length, supple, curly hair on my head, swaying gently from right to left. At the slight touch of the whimsical wind, who knows far too well how to blend the smooth aroma of ginseng with the crisp, grainy sand in my hand. Freedom is my name. I am me, fabulously me. My reflection in the mirror resembles my ancestors who fought with valiant vigor and a touch of compassion during the 1803 revolution that led to my Haiti becoming the first Black island nation. I am Liberté. Freedom is my name. I am free to conquer and prosper. Conquer any fear of rejection or failure that attempt to tame my wild feet, but see, they won't stop running. Yes, I am freedom, the freedom to prosper in my land, but mostly in my own skin. Unless the me I foresee frightens the me I dare to be, I will always be free to be just me. Liberté is my name, freedom my anthem, and no one will ever shame or vanquish my flame. Thank you. That's that.
Oh,
Actually,
that was
that's
so
one of
good.
yes,
That was
that's one
deep.
of my favorite poems. Like I've heard you read that before. I think it was at the March on Washington celebrating MLK last year, and that's my favorite one. I'm not even gonna lie. So I got all my chills. So
Thank
when,
you.
when
Thank
people
That's
you. I
get
great.
love it
chills,
too. That's the last poem in the first book, just like, hey, remember your ancestors, remember what they went through, you can do this today. You got
Absolutely.
this, you got this. And that's the message I send to my sisters out there.
definitely. Well, I appreciate it. That I need to have all your books. So if you could just put them in a little package, I'll come to the WOC conference and I'll come get them then, because I got to give you a little elbow or a hug if you can. You never know with COVID. So make sure
Yes.
you have my bundle together so I can
Okay,
pay
I
for
will.
it,
Yes,
pay
ma'am.
pay for it, support local Black artists, support art, period.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, thank
Yes.
you again very much for having me, Al. And Jacarri, I see you say my name just fine. I never pronounce your name. So how do you say it?
Jacarri.
Oh, okay, Jacarri. Okay.
Yes, I used to go by Jakai when I was a new activist trying to have an alias, but then so many people know me that they would just be like, "You mean Jacarri?" So I can't hide my identity if everybody already knows who I am. So
Busted, right?
Yeah.
got me like I'm like kind of unforgettable in the state of Utah if you've met me before. And my
You are
family's the
known.
same way. So
Both
thank
of
you
you are
so
known.
much. I cannot wait to get my hands on these books. And thank you again,
Thank you.
Caribbean Nightingale, for showing up and showing out for us on Black Pyramid.
Can I
All
ask you
right. I
one
appreciate it.
last
Thank you very
question?
Oh, sure.
Okay, Michaelle, you're going to be showcasing some of your Caribbean fashion that you came out with, this new line of fashion. Can you speak about that? And if you're going to have it at the WOC market?
Not at the work market, not yet, because some of those things are coming from the motherland and Haiti,
Mm.
and this is something that I was planning on launching this spring. That was since last year. I was thinking that, and then COVID hit. It's just a little harder to ship, and
Oh, yes.
there've been a lot of delays. So
Everything.
I haven't launched a clothing line yet. But what it is we'll have um, uh, a woman order, and including plus size women, because it's so hard to get plus size clothing here. you know,
Okay.
um, have you send your measurements, and we have a seamstress
Oh,
in
okay.
Ghana. I have a lot of my clothing done that way. you send your measurements and we get it done, and then we send you examples of styles, or you can send us yours, and then we give you some fabric options, and you
Mm-hmm.
have hand weaved versus machine weaved. And hand weaved fabric is what you wear to weddings, like to big functions, and those are heavy fabric. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Yes,
wear
yes, I
one to my
felt some.
daughter's graduation next month, actually. And it's just heavy. It's just beautiful because somebody took the
Mm,
time to weave it, hand weave it, and takes a lot of
mm,
time and a lot of talent. So you have those options, and also an option to pair it with some how do you say that, cuir, how do you say that, leather leather
Oh,
sandals,
okay.
and a wrap, you know
Oh, so
because
you can
I
have the
love.
whole, you can
Mhm,
develop the
mhm.
whole
The
outfit.
whole
Yeah.
ensemble, a whole ensemble,
Oh,
that's
yes.
what I
We
need.
likes to look good from
So
head to toe.
exactly.
mm.
So uh I'm thinking end of summer, but more realistically in the fall is when
Okay.
I might have those come out, and people would order it online, and I would make an announcement. The other thing is, sometimes I know people have a hard time waiting, being patient, but when things are coming from, let's say, Ghana, it takes a couple of weeks. It might take
Oh,
a couple of
absolutely.
weeks to get
At
this thing.
least, right?
And exactly. And so, and also shipping is costly. So I had to keep, thinking, I want to give quality stuff, but are people going to want to pay for it, compensate the seamstresses and compensate me for my time, and
As long as you're
um
authentic, you're your authentic self, the money will come after. So you charge what you feel like that
mhm.
everybody is earned. Because if I know, if I want something authentic, I'm willing to pay as much as I have to pay.
Right.
Because
Good.
I can,
I feel the same way too,
because anybody can go on Amazon and buy an African skirt and get it in 2 days, but you don't, it's
It's
really
not going to
probably,
be authentic, like you said,
it's made in Taiwan or something, you know what I mean?
Right. It's not going
I
to be
and
handmade from
I don't
Africa.
knock anybody's hustle, but I've had to do that in short notice events, you know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
the authentic place, but the more we put ourselves out there as Black people, the more you can get ready, and so you don't have to be like scramble at the last minute. So I
Yeah.
know the
So if
man,
you plan, mhm.
yeah, there's a man that he owns Twisted Root in Salt Lake. He just
Yeah,
goes
Ibu.
to Africa. He like
Ibu.
flies out there every 2 months or something like that and gets his stock because shipping sucks. And then you got to
Yes,
put
it
it through
sucks.
customs. Like that's not
Mhm.
fair.
Mhm. Yeah, it sucks, but yeah, I have a lot of respect for Ibu. He's Senegalese, West African, and my people come from West Africa. So yeah, very good person. And it just for the line I'm trying to do, it's not something generic you just go and buy.
Right.
You send your own measurement and just tailor made. Because I grew up with tailor made outfits. My mom was a fashion designer and sewed our clothing. Yes.
I
So
can't
that's
wait for
why
this to happen. If you need any models, I will purchase my outfit and model for you.
Oh my goodness, I will hold you to
All
that.
right, you
I
heard it
will hold you
here.
to that.
You heard it here,
Yes.
Mikael.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
gonna
I'm glad.
volunteer
I am
for
so
you.
happy.
It's
I'm so
Write
recorded.
happy.
it down.
You got it.
Yeah, I'm writing down and cross it and just underlining
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Jakari said.
There you
That's
go. You
all.
write it. You hold her
Facts,
to
Yeah.
it.
facts, 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 facts. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to say before we log off today?
Uh, just come show your support and go to our website and social media is C as in Caribbean, N as in Nightingale, dash Poetry Cafe. That's on Instagram, or my my page on Instagram is Caribbean.Nightingale. That's where we'll talk about the different events and projects coming up. Um, Please bear with me because I do a lot of the things, and I do have a family too, so I'm human, and I like to keep things authentic. So
Mhm.
um, so I everything that I do, I have a hand in it. I delegate. Um, I have a couple of interns until this summer, but I like to have a hand in everything just because, when you're building something, it needs to have the right spirit. And I am trying to build something authentic and it may take some time. So be patient
That's
and bear with me.
the pyramids weren't built overnight. Bam. So we
All right.
understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. A queen
All
gotta
right.
build her
One brick at a
kingdom, right?
time.
Right. You got to
Uh-huh.
make sure it's perfect to your
Mm,
specifications, you know.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All
So yeah,
right.
go on our website, sign up for a newsletter, and see website is back there,
Yes.
caribbean-nightingale.com, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I'll see you in these streets. Okay, honey. Because I'm
Okay,
coming to get
okay.
my
I'll
book.
see you next Friday. I'll see you on
Yes,
Friday.
for sure. For
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Okay. Thank
All right.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, ladies, for the time and for engaging us on Melaninology, the podcast. Concepts and Consciousness is brought to you by Jacarri Kelley and our guest, Michaelle Marshall. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. I almost forgot. Melanology. That's what we're called. Hey.
you.
You guys have a good day.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
you too.
care. Be
Bye.
blessed. Bye.